Ea yoxatinil takat yuhan. Yisuko shukwa aye achtuasaku shingit reinach wujin ʼatudli.átk. Yewa achtuati, klachkonach. Atchleech hayuchatangi. Aqa awe chedzi klesh ejidekwati. Klesh kegur chedzi shingit reinach ʼatudli.átk. Shingit reinach. Gled ka reinach a kegur chedzi. Ye oecho ach kingisti chedch. A joy in kachwani ya yidat. Ya a datki ya ag kwan ani kach. Ke has uwa wat ha yuchatangi teen. Ya shingit yuchatangi kudi. Achu a ya has to hit yich. Has to nail yich aya. Shingit kudzati. Ya ach yatki. Chutle ya has to shuchwa yuchatang. Has awa ach chutle has kuwusti. Lingít awa yewuti. Ajawe lingít hasakaya ach. Wasa ach tu asakucho ayanach. Lingít ʼatudli.átk. Yekakwati yuha. Ya ache ach tu asaku ye achi. Ya ach yetki. Glekwashi yuduasago at ha'ayi. Akshe wedukira iya aha. Anach awatana iya aha. Akshe akatzitki iya aha. Aha aya. Atlein akudziti glekwashi. Glekak enachzu atlein akudziti. Atchwakuch ya achetkitin. Glekak glekwashi ye awehad. Ye awewatusa ach. Aqa awecho achwe atshe. Kleshach tuashko. Kleshach tuashko. Dasa data we has awashi. Kleshayach uti. Ye awe. Gwash. Yatayach. Achwasanuk we gandets aji yadi. Ach ta. Ach kach. Du tu kleke. Wana sawe du tu kleke yata. Kleshach tuashko gandets aji yadi. Ach yetki has ashi. Ajoyata ayachoshe yechachetkitin. Lingít yuchatangi kudi. Has ausakutsu. Achwasanuk we gandet aji yadi. Ach tachat yausaka every day. Ya we achi. Gunachishach eti sa achi. Ya achi yuchatangi dat Łukaháaach. Wooch in yuchagachtu'laat. Ka achtuasaku yisaku tu seqanan. Sitgau san. Łukaháaach gachtu'laat. Wooch in akach. Wooch in qatuchayet. Yang we like you. Morant hiti. Gwall ke jintag shuwaki. Khat de woos. Wasa du wasak Lingít reinach. Lakeside Grill. Hatu wasaku Lingít sai kudzati we hitikak. Khatka. Ayach at khataka hiti. Kodachiyat. Yach atcha daka hiti. Dasa tleshitoa oshku. Kodachiyati asai. Ha. Gwash weta achtua sukukahisai. Hit. Achtua suku Lingít reinach. Kesh shortcut kusti. Yati yak e. Kach satanjan. Katach jinni. Chukan ani. Yadu qathini. Ak ta. Ak nu. Ak sit. Wush itluchuhin. Kachtakuhin. Uthin. Zantikihini. Katach. Sha tlach, yada atkach, sayig, anachya andaganya, katli itchi, sha nach. Atlain sa kwa kutsatiha ani kuk, kwasha hiti tsu, yewe achtuati. Yewe kuge achu katangi ganalchish. Hey, the Glade Ḳukaháa recap. What was I talking about?
One of the parts was about somebody asking you what to call the girl.
Yes.
And you answered them and they said it was too long.
Yes.
And then you were talking about names around campus.
Well, then I got grumpy. I got grumpy. And I said, well, just call it hit. Call everything hit. It's like hit, 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 hit. Because they, I said, yach, hiti. I said, what are you going to cut out? You can't have a shortcut. If you want to call it that, then that's what it's going to be. Then I started naming a bunch of place names. I said, you just got to know them. You got to learn them. It's fine if things get a little long.
Talk about how there's going to be the community feed tomorrow afternoon.
Community feast tomorrow at noon in Ḳukaháa or ʼatudli or Morant. Sorry, I don't know who Morant is. I'm not trying to offend them.
And you said something about good luck in the beginning?
The what?
Good. You said the word good luck or luck in the beginning? Okay.
Oh, okay. No, I was saying, okay. When I first started talking, I said, Yisaku Ṟukaháa ʼatwasaku Lingít qinach Wooch ʼatk. Yisaku. What's that? Yisaku.
Understand?
You know.
You all understand.
You all know. Ṟukaháa ʼatwasaku. First thing I want. Wooch ʼatudli.átk Lingít qinach.
To speak to each other.
It's for us to converse in Lingít. And so that's why I always start class with Lingít. Then, what was I saying? Aqquan ani kuk atlain adatki kehas uwawat. Or I say akhua adatki kehas uwawat Lingít ʼatangiti. Aqquan ani kuk.
You were also talking about lullabies.
Yes, so here on Aqquan ani, some akhua, let me open the notes thing. Whoops. Let's see. So just a couple things to sort of share, like as I think of things. So anybody know what this is? Ahua. There's a thing in here which is hu. Anybody know hu? Here's the name of one of my favorite places. Aqsani hu. That has a type of suffix thing that we learned about a little while ago.
So relational.
There's a relational thing on there. What is the sani thing? Many little. And then what's the many littles of? If you had one of these and it was little, you would have ak. And if it wasn't little, you'd have ah. Little lakes, and then hu is one of these things that we just started learning about them the other day. These are new things. Among. Hu is among. But sometimes when you get things and just like you put these three things together and you just got this whole other meaning. That just happens a lot with Lingít. So ʻaḥuʻa is some of them. Okay. ʻatudli.átk. What did I say? Ak, Kwan, Ani,
Some of my children.
ʻaḥuʻa.átk. And yes, you have children, but then when you have ʻatudli or ʻatudli, those are the two, they could be said either way. It's not really my children.
It's like the children or the descendants.
Just children. Just children. And one of them is ʻatkutsku, which would be a child. Right? So just like, hey, look at those. It means like literally something's children. I'm not sure why it does that, but that's what it does. ʻatudli. So when you say ʻatudli, you're talking about the children. Right? So you say ʻaḥuʻa.átk. Ḳukaháa. Lingít teen. Do we know ḳukaháa? Let's go into the sources. Oops. New share.
Something in the future.
It is not future. So here's the W's. We'll go down to WA. What? So we have, it is this one. To grow up, right? And you do have an S classifier one, which would be to raise, right? So if you said somebody raised me or I raised somebody, like as a parent figure, that would be that S classifier one. But this one is to grow. And so we just go look up grow to see what kind of examples they might have. And then we'll see, okay, now what? They are growing. Ḳukaháa. They are very old. They're really matured. So it means to grow up. So when we go back, Ākwan anika ʻaḥuʻa.átk what Lingít. Put it all together. What do we get?
On the Āk people land.
Yeah.
Some of their children will grow up with Lingít.
Yeah, some of them are growing up. I guess I could say ʻkehasna what what would mean they have grown up. So I guess I'll make a change. Ķukaháa what teen. So they're being raised with the language. So then I started thinking about lullabies, right? And I sang ʻtlequashi. I sang one of our lullabies. And I said there's a whole bunch of different ones. And there's also lullabies in English. I was driving around, and what's the lullaby that I was talking? I sang one. No, it's not Itsy Bitsy Spider. And then the song, that's what it says. Like, I'm picking, I guess it'd be Ach yan chasnuk we gandits aji yadi ach kla ach kach ege du tuwuklake. I think won't, because it says like won't my mommy be so proud of me. I don't know, I was just listening to some, like, we had lullaby things like just playing for our kids. I was like, what is this song talking about? If my kid was picking up a bumblebee, I would be so angry. So then I composed the Lingít version with them, which I shared with Kids in the Nest. I don't know if this generation of kids know. They knew it a couple years ago. Achwasanuk wigundits ajiyadi achkachat yosaka ichli day. What does that one say? I'm picking up.
Sounds like you don't like that little one.
Ah, yes, I picked up a. It was fun. I asked my daughter to translate this. She had a good translation for it. I picked up a baby bumblebee, and my mother said to me, "Knock it off," or "Don't do it." I guess don't do it. So it's a good one to know. There are differences between these. I don't know if we've done these ones yet. Uh, uh, okay. These ones, they sound like this. De away. Hooch away. Ishi de. Ye away. Yach away. Yach away. Away. And I guess I should do this one. Tlitza. I have to check my tone on all of these, but what does day away translate to?
Knock it off.
Knock it off. Hooch away. Not enough.
That's it. All done. No more.
All done. Oh. If you're telling a story and it's like, then this really dangerous thing happened, hooch. That means they're a goner. Or it could mean it's done. What about ishi day?
Stop.
Yes. Or don't. Oop, I gotta add this one. I would say kliek. Kliek.
That's stop.
Stop. Yeah, away.
That's how it is.
I would probably say that's how it is. But those aren't big, that's not a big difference, right? You're confirming something usually. What about ayachowe? That's correct. Ayachowe. It's like that. Awe. Yes, it's a ceremonial response. Someone says your name or your clan. This right? Like we heard you. And you gotta know who says the part. And shit'eh.
Wait.
Wait. Hey, great job, everybody. Okay. I think we covered everything that I had talked about. Any questions, language questions, things that you've been thinking about? Yeah, Danae?
I was wondering, Une, if you could break down the phrase cha kitana.
What is that from?
I don't remember. I think I read it from one of Alaska's beginning Flingit. And if I remember right, it should mean cool it or cool off.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look for that one. I do know, but it makes me think of this one. I've heard two ways to say this. Cha'aninach. Cha'anidach. You know what that one might be?
Just say about it.
Do it kindly. Because we were gathering phrases for raising kids. And we're saying, like, what if a kid's like really, like, sometimes they just get really, like a baby. They don't know. They see a dog and start yanking on it and stuff. And then you got to tell it, how do you say, like, be gentle? And that's what they gave us. Cha'aninach or cha'anidach.
How does that break down? What is it? Is that tusha kind?
Yes. So you do have a verb root on, right? And so you have tusha on, which would be to be on inside. And then you have they are kind. And then you can also have yakse'an. Anybody know what yakse'an is?
Attraction, kind on the face, like kind on the surface.
They have a pleasant face. Ugh. And in case you need it, kleshyakusani. That's not a nice thing to say. Kleshyakusani would be you're ugly. That's what it would be saying. I've heard it said. We always gotta go. And then Yaukshiji is they have a hideous face. So I don't know, we start with Tucha on, then we go like opposite of Tucha on. But then you could, okay, here's what was it now I was thinking of? Waqshetakt. I'm gonna get this right. Waqshetakt. Wutzigit. They fell into my eyes. That's a nice one.
What does that mean?
It means they fell into my. Okay, Waqshetak is a pupil. Shatak, I think, means there's a cavity in there, like a big cavern. So it's like they fell right into your eyes. Okay. I will check into this one. I'll try and find it. I'll track it down.
Goodness, sheesh.
Łukaháa.
What do you write down, yakusani meaning being bad, so that I don't accidentally use it or something? I mean, unkind.
Well, I guess Keshakusani would be just ugly, because it's becoming a noun now. I'll say that. Okay. Well, there's Cheesh.
Someone accidentally saying a yakusani wrong and saying that instead.
Goodness Cheesh, Keshakusani. You could probably slide some things into certain places if, just be careful, because if it happens in public, like you can have a lot of fun, but once you do something in public, everything can unravel very quickly, right? And so, but you can, yeah, with your friends, like, what's the way, Keshakusani, right? But it's up, friends can get away with a lot with each other. Like I know, I got a friend, we'd tease each other an awful lot when nobody's listening, right? And so, go for it. Okay, let's do a couple of sentences. We'll take a break. We'll come back to our direction and location things. I think we did this one already. How about this one? Get a reader.
나의 shadow. Yare. Yeksu shadow.
Sheesh. And what do we recognize? My child?
That na means like to drape, and it's often associated with clothes.
Yeah, the na with the high tone is upper body. But yeah, that's where you get the draping, because like na'at is like upper body thing. Upper body, my child. All right. So now we got a kind of, we do have an unusual verb in here. And that's this one. So this one, I think, is kind of double dipping in the suffixes, if you ask me. So we're going to go to the verb dictionary and see if we can track this down. And I'm going to help with this one because it is right there. So you do have two suffixes on there, right? Which is unusual. So that's why I wanted to just jump right here and help out, because if you're going to look for uch, like, well, I guess it's uch, like maybe, and you don't see anything, right? So you get uch to blow, and then that's it. So what's that? Yeah, right. Right. So then we do have, but then we go to, so this u verb root is used for a bunch of different things, right? It means to put something on, to put something somewhere, to use something. And then you have some kind of pretty metaphorical type of things like cha'adeyechatna'u. That's this one. Cha'adeyechatna'u, forgive me, right? And so you are talking about this one to use it, to set it somewhere, to get dressed. It's going to be these ones. And then you also have to own or possess something. But in this case, you do have to dress. So we're going to we'll look up dress and just see what we find. So the one we're looking for here, and then we see it, right? Right there. Adayesha'uch. So for some reason with this verb, when you're using it in happening right now, it does get these two suffixes on there. It's very unusual. It's not something you see very often. You do see things where it's like, okay, it gets a suffix when it's happening right now, like jin de usk, right? Like that gets it. Dachit, sweeping, that one gets it. So there are things that are like, I think for the Lingít, it's sort of, it is a singular thing, an event, but it's made up of little motions. And that's how Lingít likes to think about it. So coming back to this, na ye sha de uk yedi. What do we got?
My child is dressing their upper body.
What's that?
My child is dressing their upper body.
Yes, my child is getting dressed.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it's pretty specific in terms of upper body. What about the next one?
Is it or they are? I don't know what shoutinuk is.
Okay, back to the dictionary, looking up nuke. So we'll go down here, we'll look up nuke. Actually, we're gonna switch, we're gonna go to this one, and we're gonna look up nuke here. Because we were talking about this last night in Advanced Lingít. And I'm gonna show you this slideshow that we were using, which is in color. but not for me. It's very interesting. Okay. Okay.
Well, you match it.
What's that?
You dressed for the occasion.
Oh, yeah. See, it's a gray day. I guess I brought this upon myself. Okay. So I wanted to look it up in here because one thing that I'm trying to do in this dictionary is to really break the roots up. Like there's a bunch of them that I think, like ton, for example. I think there's 10 different verb roots that are ton. They're homonyms. In my mind, I need to separate them so that I can keep them separate in my brain. So as you start to learn how verbs work in Lingít, you learn the root, then you learn the verbs that can be made within that root, right? So in this case, you do have a nuke, which is to sit down, right? Qanu. This is that nuke. So if we go through, we see nuke, and the verb was shaudanuk. So we're looking for sha, D plus 0 classifier, nuke. Those are the three things that we know should be there. So we see situated, to seat someone. We get another nuke, which is to feel or to touch something. So this is for the wind to blow. This is to taste something. This is to touch something with your hands, which is if someone's getting handsy, that's the verb we're talking about, right? But it also just means to touch something. Tasting, feeling a certain way inside, especially emotions. Being hungry or craving something, investigating something. The third nuke is to behave a certain way. So going back to beginning Tlingit, there's a chapter called Wasaqiyanuk. What are you doing? If you just ask someone that, they're probably going to think you're saying you're doing something wrong. So just keep that in mind. But then you get Yequanuk. You get to act like something. And then you also get being angry on Ḥwanuk. And the one I talked about a little while ago, Ḥukahint, Ḥwanuk. I'm grumpy. Okay? There's another nuke, which is to rise or to get up. Here we see sha, D plus, D, we call this D plus 0. If you see di or da, that's the classifier you're looking for right there. Nuke. Then we see shaudanuk. They got up. This is the one where you say shidanu, or this one actually contracts quite a bit, and you'll hear people say shinde, get out of bed. That's what that means. Then there's a nuke for carrying things. This is the one I just used a little while ago. Ahwasanuk wegundas ajiyadi, right? To pick up a living creature. And then I think that's all of the nuke verbs. Okay, so then that leaves us with Yesu. I was in Hawaii and I heard them singing these songs and they kept saying Yesu. And I was like, what is still happening? What's still, because that's what it means in Tlingit. It's got two kind of uses. In Hawaiian, it means Jesus. So in Tlingit, Yesu, there's two ways that I see this word used. If you have Yesu, those two things together means just now. Yesu shaudanuk. They're just now getting up. That's what you're saying, right? If you could have a bit of a question and answer here. So if your question was, so if we move it, it seems to me this is how it works. You move it to the end of the verb, and if you don't have cha on there, so in this case you would say that the first one is a verb. It's a very short verb, ta. Everybody know what that verb is? Ta.
Sleep.
Yes, they are sleeping. Very short. You usually don't have these one syllable verbs. There's a few of them though. Take Yesu. This is now a question. I should put a question mark on there. What is that maybe asking?
Are they still sleeping?
Are they still sleeping? So if it goes to the back of the verb, if it goes behind it, and it's just Yesu, that means still verbing. If you say cha Yesu before the verb, just now verbing. A child is getting dressed. He just got up. One more, then break time. Who wants to read it? Sheesh. What do we got?
Based on a picture, it's gotta say my husband is shaving.
Yes, so chas is scraping, and then you see the ya built in there. Face scraping. It's got the D in the classifier because it means scraping your own face. That's how we talk about shaving. And then achuch, my husband. Yejinekwagud.
Going to work?
Yep. They are gonna go to work. Okay. Sheesh. We don't have very many of these left. Oh, well, maybe we do. We're on slide 50 of 164. A few left. Okay. Take 5. Okay, so the other day, a week ago, we talked about these 3 general types of direction and location. What are the 3? The other day, we talked about these 3 types of location and direction terms. What are those 3?
One of them relational?
They're all relational, kind of. But the question is like how there's these sets of them, right? One set is how things relate to something, another set is how things relate to a different thing, and the third set is how things relate to a different thing. Ooh, you guys didn't know there'd be a quiz.
We talked about 3 different beach terms.
There are beach terms and stuff like that. That is sort of, that's the third set. Like, what is the driving sort of factor?
Are they related to the self? To someone?
The first group,
else?
in relation to the speaker. Here, there, way over there.
Speaker,
Ocean or inland?
2 objects, and then relation to fixed or universal points.
Yes, those are our 3, right? So relating to the speaker, there's not very many. Ya, he, we, you, ha. That's all of them. That's all of them. There's 5. Right here, here, there, way over there, this area. We're going to learn how to what happens when you start putting suffixes on them, right? And some of them you just got to remember because there's the ya for the face and there's the ya for right here, and they do function a little differently. So the second one was how 2 objects relate to each other. Under it, over it, around it, near it, like a whole bunch of these things, right? And we're going to come back to these, right? Some of the differences between English and Lingít in terms of how these work. In English, they go before the noun, and the noun likes to have an article. On the table. If you're going to speak English with Lingít grammar, you'd say table on. So that's the big difference is it goes noun, then the directional phrase. We call them postpositions, right? And you don't need articles. You don't need that. The other difference is Tlingit will use relational or possessive pronouns. So you'd say, it's raining my on. That is how you would say it in Tlingit. Siu dak wusatan ach ka. Ach ka, right? So this is just how these things function in terms of like getting the logic into our brains. The other thing is, how does Tlingit categorize things? Okay, so this is the napkin. We were doing some workshops in Teslin, and Ćukaháa is a dear friend of mine. He says, I got to figure this out. I keep using the wrong ones. So then he wrote them on a napkin, which was dirty, crumpled up napkin. But it was a great set of notes. So these ones are very closely related, I think. You have ka, yik, t, talk, and yi. Now all of these we would write with the long dash before it. We call it an N dash. The N dash means there needs to be a noun. So you would say a ka, a yik, a tu, a talk, a yi. Then you could substitute those nouns and put them in there, okay? This whole slideshow is up on our class website. You can look at it. I could send you the original picture of the napkin if you want. But we sat down there as a group of us, and we just sort of were saying, okay, what types of things fall into these categories? Okay, so first of all, ka is on, okay? Yik is in a shallow container. We're going to talk about what that exactly means. Tu is in a closed container, including your head. Oh, if things are in your head, they're tu. If things are in your belly, they're yik. Okay? Talk is in a cavity. Yi is in a building. Okay? So just like thinking of these, like English would use in for a whole bunch of these, right? Because like, aren't they just in? No! They're talk and yik. Okay, so what kinds of things fall under these, right? So for example, where are they at? They're in the store. What do you think you're going to say? Yi, right? Hun dakahit yi yeyati, right? Okay. So going through by categories, ka is on. It's also in a spillable container or an open container. You got a box that's open? It's going to be ḳukaháa. You want to put it in the cup? It's going to be ḳukaháa. And that's just how it is. That one took me a long time. I was like, shouldn't it be yik? Shouldn't it be yik? Because it's like a, and all the speakers, they're always like, no. And even like there's a bunch of stuff that, English has a few of these things up, right? Like you say, it's on TV. Right? Like some of those things, they just work that way, right? Because we were saying, shouldn't it be yuck? Because it's like on the face of the TV. And like, yeah, you're right. Then we said, okay, well, how do you say it's on TV? I said, TV ka. Like, okay. Okay. Ask them if you got them. Yik. So yik would be things floating in the water, including boats. Your boat would be yik. Also, yik would be in water that is too shallow to fully submerge.
That would be like a puddle?
What's that?
That'd be a puddle?
Yeah, puddle. Yep.
Is that in relation to what you're saying is in it? So like a giant boulder versus me? Or, yeah, because they show
Well,
different amounts.
Yeah, so I started thinking about this because we were in a van driving in Ćukaháa, and I saw a bear sitting down in the river eating a salmon. I said, Heen tak a wehoots ḳukaháa. I thought I had it. And they said, or I said, Heen yik a wehoots ḳukaháa. The brown bear is sitting in the water. It's eating a fish. And they said, no, it's Heen tak. I said, but it's not underwater. They said, no, but if it laid down, it would be. Okay, right? So there is a point. I would say for me, yik is about up to the knees. If it's above the knees, now you're talking heen tak, which is wild, right? For me, like there's a whole logic structure that's revealed here. So yik, and you would also, yik is also in a boat or a car. If you're going to get in the car, that's going to be yik. Because in Lingít, a road is a river, a car is a boat. Okay? So you would also yik in the road. So this is it, you would think de ka, no, de yik. Same with the trail. It's going to yik in the trail. So it's a concept, right? It's a concept. So you've got floating in the water, in the shallow water, in a boat, in a car. I feel like it's like some green eggs and ham that are coming. In a tree, as yik wujaqaq wayeh. The raven landed in a tree. I don't know why a tree is yik, but it is. In a road, in a creature's body, and in the forest. Uskigachihuhu askutuyik woogood. Right? As you keep doing like all these lullabies, right? So you would yik. That's why there's a bunch of things that are called askutuyik kadli. What do you think that is? Askutuyik kadli. Dog in the forest, which would be Nakatse. Fox has his own name that we borrowed from another Dene language. Wolf has his own name, Wooch. No. Coyote. Askatuya Keitli. Okay. Okay, so that's yik, right? Yik adi is your organs. I don't know why.
Turducken.
Yes, yeah, that would be shaqait, yik, gah. Is there another thing that's in there?
Whoa, wait.
Okay.
Oh,
Shaqait, yik, kah, yik, gah. Right? That's how it goes?
okay. So inside of a body, is that also if a person or an animal is pregnant? Or is that
No.
different?
That's different.
Okay.
So that, there's a couple different ways to say that. You'd say kadiyat would be they are pregnant. But most commonly people say dukat which is the baby's sitting on her.
Oh. Okay.
Which I don't know why, because it's not on you, but that's just how.
The cream and the Oreos. Yuck.
Conk. That would be between two objects. Because then I've been calling sandwiches sauk nein ḳakatха. Food between the bread.
Ooh. What would you call if you were making dumplings?
Or like cookies, or like.
That would become
cream
two
cupcakes.
because it closes.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Without cream, like cream-filled cupcakes.
Two. Because it's not going to come out. It's not spillable. Right? Like if I had the cupcake and I turn it upside down, it's not going to dump out. Okay. This is going to lead to handling verbs, which is going to also drive us crazy. Okay. To. Inside a closed container. A box with a lid. In your mind, to yik, to yik. Where's it going to go? Right? And which includes your thoughts inside abstract concepts. Right? And that's why they say, "Ituyeyeti hayukatangi," because your language is in your brain. It's not in your belly. Right? Now we get to talk. Talk is really interesting for me as well, because it is bodies of water, but it means deep enough to submerge and also underwater. Hintak ati, the things in the water. Talk is also in a hole or in a pit. If you dug a pit, that would be talk, because it becomes a cavity at some point. And it's also in the fire, and it's also in your eyeballs. And I don't know why. So you have ganshatade. They put it into the fire, but the fire has a cavern, it has a cavity. So do your eyes. Ye is in a building or a home, and if you are a porcupine, then being in a tree can also be ye, because that's your home.
What about for squirrels?
Yeah, but what about birds living in a tree?
If a bird lived in a tree, that could also be ye.
Not if it's landed on the tree.
Yes, like just an eagle landing on the tree. But like if a bird, especially like a bird who, like Wooch, the wren, the one that they always live in a hole. Yeah. But a squirrel, I don't think so, because I think they live under the tree. Okay.
What about an owl that lives in a tree, not on a tree, and a hole in the tree, and a cavity?
That would probably be ye. Yeah. Like if the tree is for sure its home, then I think you can say ye. Okay. Yeah, you can.
Treehouse.
Huh?
Treehouse would be or yeah.
That would probably be as yakiti, and then you could ye in there. But if you're just in the tree, you would be yik, because you don't live in a tree.
So, so that's only for living things for their home? Because like in English you can say, oh, the home of
Brave.
whatever. Sorry?
The brave?
No. Like when people can say, oh, the home for this microphone is in the case.
Oh, right.
So that's only for living things though, I'm assuming?
I think, yeah, like, I don't know if you, because you would say nate, right? So nate is a home.
Mm.
We're going to get to this one too, because there's a whole other nate. You'd say ʼatudli.átk. And I don't know if you would say ʼanatli. You would just say ʼatudli.átk. It's its container.
Oh.
So I think you could, it's always difficult to say because Lingít can move into metaphor at any time.
Oh, yeah.
So if you were making some dramatic speech about these microphones, then you might. But otherwise, you'd probably say it's container.
Way speaker. Takat yakwaheyagu.
Yes, there's a spirit in the
Heyoe.
Yeah. Okay.
Turtle bee, since it's kind of like itself is kind of its.
They call it tanuch or kanuch, which just means there's shell on it. Yeah.
How come there's the K in parentheses? When does the K appear in talk?
Well, it's there, but it can disappear. So you could say ta day. If you put a suffix on there, it will disappear.
Oh, okay, good to know.
Same with take. Take is behind. But when we put it in parentheses too, because sometimes it's just optional. Like we'll hear people say on a behind the village.
What would you say about like a fish tank? Because it has a lid. The lid isn't like super secure, and if it tilted, it would spill. But it's also the home of the fish.
That would be talk.
Okay.
Because it's a body of water. That's definitely a cavity.
Okay. Okay.
All buildings, like the noise pavilion.
Yeah, I think that would be ye. I don't know how else you could, because you go into it, right? Which is, it provides a shelter. It's a good question.
Ooh. Okay, I'm just gonna keep on asking questions anyway.
Okay, so well, let's look at these things. So this gets us into this third category. And so what you do have is you have these lists of things to look at and to commit to memory. You'll start to see them. The ka and ya are the most common ones, right? On and the face of something. And you're going to see those are also the ones that are most commonly built into a verb. It's a whole bunch of these things that you can build into a verb as well. You'll see them built into place names, you see them built into all kinds of stuff. Okay. So here is a picture with just some nouns, right? So we'll say these and then we'll translate them. I might have to make this a little smaller. Okay. Chat. The sky. Goose. Wow. Kate. Seagull. Kakan. Sun. Askatu. Forest. Two other ways to say it. Anybody know? Maybe three.
Woods.
Well, I mean in Lingít. Grove? Okay. Asquani and Utkatu. There's also a skeet, but I think that means below the forest floor, which is how you say going hunting sometimes. Okay. Chat. Fish. Heen. Water or river. Niche. Beach of the ocean. Ton. Sea lion. Each.
The rock island.
Yes, reef or a big rock that sticks. Tide goes up and down. Kakan khusi. A sunbeam breaking through the clouds, touching the earth. Shah. Mountain. Yai. Yak. Kutiya. Ganka. Gankhahati. Smoke hole cover. Hit. House.
Lakeside Grill.
Yeah. Yes. Nice. Rock. Sow.
Ocean or salt.
Ocean or salt. So now we're going to look at this with some directions, right? So this has to do with fixed points in the Lingít universe, okay? And so a lot of things, I would say, the center point is where the ocean is. Doesn't matter if you're inland Lingít, coastal Lingít, it's just built into the language. So if you just sort of stand there, and if you extend your arms forward, that is dak. We're going to say dak, 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 dak. And then just for something to come towards your body, dak,
Dog.
dak,
Dog.
dak,
Dog.
dak.
Dog.
So these are opposite concepts, right? Dak and dak. They are, and they mean a bunch of different things. They are out to sea from the shore. They are also out into the open from the shadows. They are also for precipitation to fall. And then it's also onto fire. All of those things are dak. That's why you say, siu dak husatan. Okay? The dak is on there. If you're sitting there and like something comes out of the woods into a clearing, like you're looking for a ʼuwakan, dak uwagut, it emerged. And then dak is the opposite of those things. So it means into the inland. It also means back into the shadows or into the woods and off of fire. I think if we like start talking about evaporation and stuff, I think you'd be using dak as well.
Can you expand on what is onto, what's going onto a fire and what's coming off of a fire? And what is onto a fire and off of a fire?
Like if you had a fire and you put it on the fire, like you could say.
Anything on a fire.
Mm-hmm. And so, but when you talk about putting something into the fire, you'd say ganshatade. Like if I'm going to put a fire dish in there. But if I was going to put another log on the fire, that would probably be dak. But I haven't heard them used very much when they're talking about fire.
What about like falling onto a fire too? Like somebody tripped and fell
Yeah,
onto a fire?
because you also say dak would git, it fell. But that usually means down towards the earth.
So is this also used like a postpositional? Like would you say like oskatudak uagut?
So these ones though, they don't need a noun to relate to, right? You would just say, because you could say dakte wugut, they went inland. And so these ones, you can just say them, right? Dak, dak. And then it kind of depends on the context, right? Because if you said, in certain contexts, if you say dakte wugut, I would want more information. Because that could mean it went back into the woods. It could mean they went into the interior to migrate, and it could mean they died. That's why we say they walked into the forest, because we'd say dakte wugut. But like in a certain context, that's how you would talk about someone passing away. So kind of thinking about, and there's a set of these. These aren't all. So when we see like this dash, this long dash on it, tayi, that means that is one of those ones where it's between two objects. Tayi is underneath it. Nadak tayi, wekutin. The rat is under the table, right? And then, but if you see ones that don't have that, then those are the ones that are these universal ones. So coming back to the ocean, right? So if you're near the ocean and you go to the inland, dak. If you're in the inland and you go to the ocean, ek or ik. If you're at the shore and you go out to sea, that's dak. And if you're out to sea and you come back to the shore, that's yan. So what does get tricky is there's like different sets of them that you use depending on where you are, right? So if you're on the ocean, you can't go ikde. You have to go yende. If you're on the interior, you can't go yende. You have to go ikde. So there are sets of these that it does depend on where you are. The biggest one is whether or not you're on the ocean, right? That's probably one of the primary ones. And what's wild is you'll see yun built right into verbs, because that also means to completion. Yun ye jechwane. I finished working on it, right? So the other one that depends on where you are is neish. So just like you would niche from the niche, you neish when you are neish. What that means is if I'm in a little tiny house, someone knocks on the door, I could say neish, come inside. If I'm outside the house, I technically shouldn't say neish. I would say hit ye go inside of the house. And I would use ye because I am outside of the house. So the beach and in a home or a building, those are the ones that it kind of depends on where you are, which one you use. Outside of that, they are pretty fixed, right? I guess gone is another one, right? Gone means outside. So you kind of got to be, it refers from coming from the inside to the outside. So,
Wait, what's the deal with gone? Sorry.
oh, it's outside.
But it doesn't matter where you are when you say it.
Yeah, because I could be outside and then someone's outside, and that one doesn't really matter. But, I guess coming back, we do see one of these right here. Somebody read this one?
Sewa'at we shawat gan dach nech uagut.
Sheesh. So the top one doesn't have any of these directional things, but the bottom one has two of them. Well, three. It's two directional terms and then one suffix. What is sewa'at?
Cold?
For a person to be cold, right? So the woman is cold. What about the bottom one? What does that one say?
Going inside, something.
Neish uwukut, she came inside.
Gandach is from going outside.
From outside. She came inside from outside. Right? So both of those things are in there. And if it was, oh, go ahead.
I'm a little stuck on how, like, gun is out, like, you went outside or you were going outside or you were, like, can you break apart gandach?
Yes. Okay, so let's go back to our notes, which are somewhere. Oh, here. Okay. So we have, let me do it. So here's gone, right? So gone is one of these universal directional things, right? So a lot of times when I think of this stuff, I think, does it need to belong to it now? So if it does, like we'll say tayi, we'll use that one, right? So tayi gets this long dash, whoops, what am I doing? To say it needs to have a noun in front of it, right? It needs to belong to a noun. Gone doesn't need any of that. The second thing I think about is, can it take a suffix? Because you can have gone, which is outside. Now we could say gone, oops, I changed to Hawaiian. Gone de, gone dach, gant, and gant, and let's do this one. So what do you think gande is? Going outside. What about gandach? Or I guess let's say towards. Towards outside.
Coming
From outside.
From outside?
Gaunt.
arrived outside.
Yes, at, arrived, outside. Gone.
Resting in outside?
Yeah, at, resting, outside. Gone.
Living outside?
That's it.
Residing.
Well, the is usually residing. So this shows you, like, so once you learn this set of suffixes, then once you learn these other things, you start learning how to put them together, right? So then you could say, and there is there's a slight difference between these things. Oops. Anybody know what the difference is between these two?
Going to the bathroom and going outside.
Yes. Which one is which?
The upper one is, the first one is going outside. And the
They
second one is
went outside.
bathroom.
They went to the bathroom. Right? So this is where we got to keep that tone, keep that vowel length in mind. And so this is how these things work, right? So that you've got this set of suffixes, then you got this whole set of words that you can attach suffix to. So now you can say yan, yende, right? And you can say dak, dak, dakde. But then a lot of it has to do with, like, does it change once you put a suffix on there, right? So if we see gone, it's not changing this whole way down. Gone, 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 gone. Say gande, gandach, gaunt, gone, gone. And you can also, you can have this. Right. That's how you get kicked. That's the phrase you use for getting kicked out of a house. If it happens to you, which I hope it doesn't. So coming back to these, right? We got a whole bunch of these things now, right? And it's easy to get overwhelmed. So, like, just start taking this stuff in stages, like the things that are pretty common, right? And so as we sort of start looking at these and how they work, we'll just kind of go a little bit at a time, okay? So here's back to our scene. We've taken all the words off. We're not worried about names. We're not really worried about directions right now. But then we got this ʼkanats'ak. And if you're from the interior, you would call it ʼkash'ak. Okay? Where is the ʼkanats'ak going?
Dock.
Not going dock. It's going ik or ek. So from the inland to the ocean, ekdeyanagut. 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 So yanagut is they're in the process of going, right? So that's he's going ekde. Or if you're southern Lingít, ikde. Desayanaguti datko. Dock. And if you put a suffix on here, it does go short and high. So this one does change. You go from dock, dakte, dakte yanagut, dakte yanagut.
So if you added a force in there, wouldn't it be slightly different then? ʼatudli.
You got one more. You got to add one more thing though. You can't just day into the forest.
Say what now?
ʼatudli. So you got to have the yik there, because Lingít, for Lingít, if you go into a forest, it's yik. It's this shallow container. I don't know why, but you would say ʼatudli wugut.
Even though you're not there, even though you're not in the forest yet, if you're if you're going towards it actively but not there yet,
Yes.
you're still yik?
Yeah, you're going to end up yik if you get there. So that even like if I say, I'm going to go into the woods later, ziyak ʻatudli ātk. I'm going to go into the forest later. But it would still have the yik there. So, and that's how Lingít, the logic works. It's like there's some of them just require certain terms, whether it's yik or ka or, those types of things.
So it would be ʻatudli dock, good, or would you wouldn't need a dock in there? Because, I mean, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it would be trying to do too many things at
One or the other.
once.
You just pick one or the other then, right?
Yeah.
You would-
Yeah.
You would just say.
Because for ʻatudli ātk or dach, you're talking about the act of going into or out of the forest. For dak or dak, you're talking about emerging and going and retreating. So it's a little bit more sort of like, for example, you say, that dog just came running out of the woods, right? And so that's what you're talking about. It came running out of the woods. But like, if you're going hunting, you'd say, the moose has emerged. It has come out of hiding. So like, it's almost like it's in the shadows, is what I think of it as. It's dak. Okay. Good stuff. Oh, well, that's probably enough. So we're at time. And these are big concepts, right? You got to nest all these concepts in your mind, and your English brain's kind of be like, why is it yik though? And for Lingít, it's just how it works. And so I spent a lot of time just trying to predict this stuff and getting it wrong, but then talking with a lot of speakers and just trying to figure out like, well, what's the logic so I could make the pictures and make the materials to sort of teach people. And then what we'll do is we're going to go to the Ţaghcha story, and we're going to go through, we're going to listen to the whole story, we're going to practice the story, and we're going to start looking at, when this thing has color again, the color-coded version of that story. So we can start seeing how this stuff works and start getting us more and more towards like, okay, there is all of this stuff, and you got to learn how all these things work, and there's these lists of these types of things. And that will get us finally to the Lingít verb. So we could just really start talking about verbs and diving into those. Ďakujem.
Tlain. Yeah, my one quick question